Before we get into this segment, support our new song and help us smash the Billboard charts. Check out losingmymind.com. Link in the description below. Watch our latest music video, trending number 29 on YouTube. Thanks to your support. Buy the song, and hopefully we can win this culture war. Now, on to the segment. For some reason, a lot of people are complaining about what happened last night. I mentioned this in my first segment, so I'll say it again. The Republicans won, are winning, and the projection is that they're going to control the House, which is the best you can hope for, because unless they got a veto-proof majority, they're not going to be impeaching Joe Biden anyway. And the best case scenario was 56 seats in the Senate, which wouldn't do all that much anyway as long as the Democrats control the executive branch. But I digress. Many people are lamenting that the Republicans did not do enough. I love it. While all these leftists are celebrating that they've lost, but it's a win for some reason, Republicans wanted a bloodbath, and all they got was a win. So basically, it was a bad day for Democrats because they lost. And it was a bad day for Republicans because Republicans wanted a bloodbath, red wave, and only got victory. Okay, sure. But that being said, many people still have concerns about the current voting system. There are a lot of points being brought up as to why we got the results we did. And we have this story from Newsbusters from yesterday afternoon. Did Sunny Hostin just admit to committing voter fraud? Yes, she did. She said she had trouble voting for her son. She didn't say having trouble delivering his ballot. Now, by all means, if you want to be charitable, you can say that this co-host of The View misspoke when she said she voted for him. And it may be that she was just delivering her son's absentee ballot, which is totally fine and legal. However, Nicholas, who wrote this article, Fondacaro, I want to push back, my friend. You need to be a bit more direct on this one. Did she just admit? Yes, she did. Stop being so charitable. Quote, she had, quote, trouble actually voting for him. Okay. Does that mean she did commit voter fraud? No, because we need to actually investigate and see what happened. But did she admit to doing it? Yes. She did not say, I had trouble delivering a ballot. She said she had trouble voting for him, and her son was in Massachusetts. Okay. If the absentee ballot went to him in Massachusetts, she wouldn't have it. If it went to him, it's possible he drove back to New York with it. Why would the absentee ballot be in New York? Unless they were universal mail ballots, they were sent to his home. You see, the whole story doesn't make sense. But hey, I'm willing to say, I don't know if she committed fraud. She just admitted she committed fraud. A confession is not absolute proof of guilt. Y'all, listen. You can go into the police station and confess to whatever crime you want. And then they'll investigate, and they're going to be like, hey, clearly this person did not do this. The confession is bunk. You know, you watch Law and Order, and then you got these episodes where a guy will be like, it was me. I took out the boss. And they'll be like, with what weapon? It was a gun. What kind of gun? 9mm. Aha! It was actually a .22. The confession was fake. Anyway, here's my point. What I really want to talk to you about is the problem of universal mail-in voting. Some people are saying that the reason Ron DeSantis won so handily is because he cleaned up the voter rolls and he did away with universal mail-in voting. It's possible. I believe that universal mail-in voting, it's not about fraud. It's about destroying election integrity. It's an important distinction. Is fraud possible? Sure. Is she admitting she committed fraud? She is. I'll say it again. She is. Period. Is there an explanation? Yes. Is it possible? Is there a possible explanation? There is. Did she misspeak? It's also possible. But her statement is an admission of fraud. Okay. I'll read this, but first, let me actually play the clip from The View for you guys.
People, put that phone down, girl. God bless you.
It's my son. Who, by the way, wanted to make sure that his absentee ballot was that I did that. And
That I did that. That I did that. What does she mean, and why did you say it that way?
That I did that, and I had trouble actually voting for him absentee ballot today, and that made me very concerned. It was the first time I was told to put it in an orange bag on the floor, and the orange bag looked to me like a Target bag or something. And I said, isn't there a formal election box that says absentee ballots or something like that? And then she said, let me check, and then found it.
Wow.
So that concerned me.
Well, people put.
So I just want to stress that again so you can hear it.
It's the first time for him absentee ballot today. Did that, and I had trouble actually voting for him absentee ballot today.
I had trouble voting for him absentee ballot. Okay, first step, questions. Why would she be voting for him absentee ballot? She lives in Westchester, New York. Or, actually, let me read from Newsbusters, and then we'll go through this. So you saw this part where she says it. Nicholas writes, according to New York state election laws, Hostin does have the ability to drop off her son's ballot on his behalf. If you cannot pick up your ballot, you have the right to designate someone to pick it up for you. Only that person designated on your application may pick up and deliver your ballot. I'm assuming if she walked in and did it, she's probably that person. In recent mentions of her son, Hostin noted that he was away at college attending Harvard University in Massachusetts. And in Tuesday's episode, she disclosed that she lives in Westchester County, New York. So the questions become, where and when was her son's ballot delivered before being filled out? Was he at home and or did he fill out the ballot himself? And in the description of the casting process, another New York State election website notes that a security envelope must be signed and dated by the voter. So who signed the security envelope? If he had it at school, why not just mail it? That's what it's for. If he was at home, why didn't he turn it in himself? Okay. One possible scenario, and it's simple. He's visiting at home. His absentee ballot gets sent to Westchester for New York for some reason. I'm sorry. This just makes no sense. I think she cheated. And I think she committed fraud. I'm not saying there's widespread fraud. Calm down, YouTube. But it makes no sense that someone in Massachusetts would request an absentee ballot not to where they are. So we know a bunch of people out here voted absentee because they're visiting or something like that. They get their ballot sent to them here. They fill it out and send it back. That's it. It's because they're not there. So why would a guy who is in Massachusetts request an absentee ballot to New York? Okay, now it's possible. He was in New York visiting and he requested an absentee ballot. Why? He's in New York. If he's at home, just go vote. Okay, hold on. Maybe he was visiting New York and knew he wasn't going to be there on election day, so he requested an absentee ballot to be sent to his house, and then he showed up to visit. Okay, now I'm sorry. That's conspiratorial. No, for real. How many coincidences do you want to speculate as to justify what this was? The simple solution. Occam's razor suggests that in the absence of evidence, the solution that makes the least amount of assumptions tends to be the correct one. So what assumptions must we make to determine that this was not fraud? 1, that Sunny Hostin misspoke when she said she voted for him. 2, that her son who was away was visiting. 3, that in anticipation of the election, he requested an absentee ballot. 4, to his house where he'd be. And then 5, left it there for his mom to then drop off later instead of just mailing in himself or taking it with him. I'm sorry, that is not a simple solution. Even if he was visiting and filled everything out himself, he could have been like, all right, mom, see you later. I'll drop it off on my way out. Okay. 6, he accidentally left it behind and then called his mom and said, yo, did you get my ballot in? I forgot it. So maybe. And then also, she mentioned that she was trying to vote for him on that day, right? She says today. She waited until election day to drop off the absentee ballot. Absentee ballots can just be mailed in. Sorry, it sounds like she committed fraud. Here's how to cast an absentee ballot. Once you receive the ballot, mark the ballot according to the choices for each office following the instructions. Once you've completed it, place it in its security envelope. Sign and date the outside of the envelope. Seal the envelope. All absentee ballots include a prepaid return envelope. Place a security envelope in the return envelope. Seal the return envelope. Okay, another possibility. He requested an absentee ballot because he knew he was going to be visiting and could easily fill it out. He fills it out and then says, don't mail it in. I want to make sure it goes in properly, so hold on to it until election day. And she goes, you got it, buddy. All of those scenarios are possible. Just Improbable. So maybe. Nicholas says, if she filled out the ballot and or signed the envelope as his proxy, that could be illegal. The other concerning thing about how New York absentee ballots work is that they're automatically sent every cycle after the first application is approved. You will then automatically receive an absentee ballot for every election until your registration is canceled, the election site says. I'm just going to go out and say it. I think she committed fraud. I want to be very careful. I'm saying she admitted she committed fraud. The scenario suggests that she did, but it's possible she didn't. I don't know for sure. I'm just saying she said she did. Like, I just want to stress this again. She admitted that she had trouble voting for him absentee. Voting for someone else is actually illegal. Delivering an absentee ballot as a designated individual is totally fine, but she didn't say she did that. She didn't say, I had trouble delivering my son's absentee vote. She said, my son wanted to make sure that I did that. What did she say? Let's play this again, because this is funny. Okay.
Ballot was that I did that. As absentee ballot was that I did that. Who, by the way, wanted to make sure that his absentee ballot was that I did that.
What does that mean? That his absentee ballot was that I did that. I think the issue is she meant to say that his absentee ballot was filled out. That I did, and so she didn't say anything. She said, because she realized I can't say that. Robert A. George says, I think she means she dropped the closed envelope absentee ballot off at the polling place for her son. That's legal. And Nicholas responded, that's the question. Her son is off at college. So when and where was the ballot delivered? Who filled it out? If he had it, couldn't he just mail it in? He could. Or he didn't have to. So that's not really the question. The question is, how many assumptions do you want to make on this one? Nothing's going to happen. There's not going to be an investigation. There's not going to be any grand inquiry. There's not going to be criminal charges. It just ain't going to happen. No one is going to go after Sonny Hostin for saying this on TV, though they should. They should immediately sequester the vote of her son, seek it out, find the ballot, and then do signature verification and check. And there should be an investigation. You don't get to say stuff like this on national TV. But don't forget, this is the same woman who said, women who vote for the GOP are like roaches voting for Raid. Amazing, isn't it? Look, the problem I see with universal mail-in voting is this, as I've explained over and over and over again. Outside of any question of whether or not this individual committed fraud, the issue is her son probably came home and was hanging out, and she goes, your absentee ballot came. You got to fill it out. And he's like, Mom, I don't care about this stuff. And he goes, just fill it out. You have to do it. Trump's a fascist. Okay, fine. And he fills it out. And then he leaves. There is a possibility that what really happened here is that it's not. Let me give you another simple explanation. Stressing. The simplest explanation is that she filled out his ballot for him. And she just doesn't want to admit it. One possibility is she told him, request it. And he goes, oh, fine, whatever. Then request it here. She's like, don't worry, I'll get it. Then when he visits, she says, fill it out. So somebody who normally would not have voted, because all barriers have been removed, blindly and ignorantly votes. That to me seems like a potentially likely scenario. Maybe not necessarily here, but I'm willing to bet that scenario is happening all over the place. And not just that. Some have actually argued the inverse, that college students, radicalized, will tell their parents they have to go vote and then go home and go like, come on, Mom, fill it out. You have to. It's my future. Climate change. All that stuff. This is what I see happening. Well, of course, despite all of this, I have a couple of things to show you to warm your day. Yo, let me stress again. I don't get what with all the doom and gloom. We were looking at polls going into the midterm. A lot of people were saying the polls are going to be wrong and Republicans are going to do better. They're going to do really good. And the projections were like 220, 225. Right now, the current projection is 224, Republican control of the House. Who cares? It could be 218. And then they have control of the House. Sure. Republicans won. Abbott, Kemp, DeSantis, they swept. Now, it's looking really good for Carrie Lake. We will see. She needs to win. She's fantastic. Plus, she can really help clean up Arizona. I think that'd be fantastic. It's looking really good for Carrie Lake. DeSantis won by 20 points. Rubio wins by nearly the same margins. They flipped blue counties. It was an amazing victory. And Ron DeSantis is paving the way forward. A lot of people are arguing that Trump hurt or whatever. And I'm like, guys, yesterday during the election, the Seattle Times says, stressed about the elections? Here's strategies from calming down. I'm sorry, this is the New York Times. We talked about this. 5-finger breathing, count backwards, dump your face into a bowl of ice water, move around and breathe like a baby. Move around is one. Breathe like a baby. Know your doom scrolling limits. These people were freaking out to such an insane degree that the New York Times was telling them to breathe like a baby, breathe with your stomach, bring more oxygen to your brain. It's a good day. It was a tremendously good day. Did you think going up against the cathedral would be easy? Because you're not just going up against Democrats. You're going up against the media, Democrats, and the establishment Republican Party. They didn't want these MAGA guys to win. It's looking suspect for Lauren Boebert. She may lose. Marjorie Taylor Greene won handily. They called that instantly. Ron DeSantis winning by 20 points and flipping Hillsborough, Pinea, and Miami-Dade. Those are Democrat strongholds. The future is before us. And Ron DeSantis is showing us these people are losing their minds. Let's give a shout out to our good friend Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks. He tweeted yesterday at 6:05 p.m., we are off the air right now because the power went out in L.A., as it does all the time. Eric Garcetti is the worst mayor of all time. He hasn't bothered to do his job in years. The Democrats running L.A. are the most incompetent people on the planet. I think Caruso won, or at least he was winning. But boy, does this tweet show us a couple of things. My friends, we here at Timcast, we have things called batteries. Just last week, I was recording, and if you watch the segment, the lights all go down, and I'm like, oh, the power went out. But I have what's called auxiliary power. What are the APCs? I don't know what it stands for. Auxiliary power or something. And we have solar backups at the new studio. Up in the IRL studio, there was a power outage once, and we use these portable reserve batteries and APCs in concert. So what happens is, this is what you got to do. The APCs, they're little boxes with batteries in them. You plug them in, and if the power goes out, your machine can keep running for like a half an hour. We then plug the APC, we take it from the wall where there's no power and plug it into our auxiliary power big batteries, which can last up to 10 hours. And then we're fine. We can do the show and we can keep working. Plus, these things can charge via solar power. So if the power goes out for an extended period, we lay out this big array of solar panels to charge the batteries back up, and we're good. Not to mention, we have gas generators. We have 2 vehicles with power outlets that can generate energy from gas or diesel. It's called being prepared. At our new studio, we're putting in massive solar batteries that charge so much we will never run out of electricity. The battery, I called the company. I was like, I want the max. Like the max amount of batteries and solar panels. And they were like, good sir, you will never run out of power. And I was like, that's the point. If the power goes down for several days, what we want is to be able to operate through the night. And then during the day, the recharge is so intense, we don't use as much power as we're generating. As for Cenk Uygur, shout out to him, respect for calling out the failing Democrats, for calling out a lot of the defund the police stuff, for changing his opinion on bad policy. But what we see right here, he's blaming the Democrats because he doesn't have reserve power. We're off the air because the power went out. You don't need to install a massive gas generator. You don't need to buy a truck with a diesel truck with a power outlet on it. You can buy a simple diesel generator and then run some computers off of it. But dude, Cenk, you can just buy 5 batteries. I know you can afford it. 5 batteries. They're $2,000 a piece. They're yay big. They're pretty hefty. And you can run multiple machines, cameras, and everything off of these, and you would not get knocked off the air. You could have APCs, and you'll never get knocked off the air. It may just be that Cenk is unaware of these things, but chance favors the prepared. And so my point here is this. This shouldn't happen. We've had power outages. We stay on the air because we plan ahead. We think about these things. But I think that shows what's behind the politics. Cenk Uygur did not think ahead to the defund the police stuff. Initially I was very much against it. Then I saw a bunch of insane garbage police actions with COVID and said, you know what, fine, let the cities do away with them. But I've maintained I'm not an anarchist or a libertarian, hardcore big L libertarian. I lean libertarian, and I think that less police, better, and police reform, there's some major benefits there, but we need police. I mean, you look at what's happening in these big cities. We can talk about freedom versus security all day and night, but letting violent criminals out of prisons and jails is just resulting in hardship and victimization for other people. Now, I think a solution there is, on the libertarian side, arming people. But my point is, there's a reason why, I don't come out immediately just screaming defund the police. And it's not because it's a right-wing talking point or whatever. It's because I think about it. And that's why I've talked about mail-in voting. It's why I've been critical of the fraud narrative. The fraud narrative doesn't solve the problem of procedure like what we're seeing with Sonny Hostin. So while you can laugh and you can gloat at the misfortune of the Young Turks, they were able to get back on the air, power came back, but this is what they keep voting for. And surprise, surprise, even if they vote for Caruso, they're voting for another Democrat. That is the position they've chosen. Democrats are low information voters, and they're doing it to themselves. So I want you all to take the white pill. Understand that the Democrats are a self-destructive party. They have no youthful leadership. They have no path forward at all. They have tribalism and fear. And with Ron DeSantis and what we're seeing in Florida, we actually have a vision forward. Maybe it'll be Trump. Maybe it won't be. There's the people fighting now. Trump, and no, DeSantis, he's proven it. Here's what primaries are for. Maybe Trump won't do as well as people think. We will see. The Democrats will certainly cross over and vote for Trump because they know they need a divisive candidate. I think I'm leaning towards DeSantis at this point. I know I've gone back and forth, but it's for good reason. Information changes and there's things developing. DeSantis winning by double digits and winning blue cities. Imagine what 2024 looks like under Ron DeSantis. It looks like a major victory for Republicans. Donald Trump, not so much. That's reality. But I can't see the future, and I don't know. Some people really, really, really do want Trump. I can only tell you this. If you don't get Republicans in to clean up the system, to investigate people like Sonny Hostin, you ain't going to win anything. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 4 p.m. over at youtube.com/Timcast. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.